Hey guys, welcome to the Testing Academy. My name is Pramod, and in this video series, we are basically going to learn about the Git. We will basically discuss what are the different commands which are basically present as a software tester, right? What kind of different things that you should know related to the Git. Git is one of the important thing if you are learning about the any automation framework, right? So for example, if you are learning about API automation, if you are learning the web automation, right? Any kind of automation, Git is most important one that you have to use somewhere throughout your automation career. This is super important. Even if you are using mobile application testing, right, somewhere you have to use Git basic command, right? So as a software tester, I think it is very important that you should know basic commands which basically can help you to basically run your automation framework, right? To push your code, to add a code, clone a code, right? How you can do it by using the different commands. In this video series, I'm gonna discuss about it. All right. So without any ado, let's get started. First of all, this is the document that we are going to follow, and this document contains everything that a software tester should know about the Git, right? We'll basically go through the how you can install a Git on the machine, like for example on Mac or in your Windows machine. What exactly is a Git? Why we use Git, right? What is the difference between Git, GitHub, and GitLab? Configuring, right, different commands, and what are the merges, branches, and everything in this. So first of all, you will see that how you can install the Git, right? Installing Git is super simple. If you are using Mac, you have to just run a simple command which is brew install Git, right? If you have not installed brew, just Google this brew install. There is a website of homebrew.right. You can, if you're in a Mac, you can just install this by using this command. Copy this, put this into your terminal, right? Search your terminal with the spotlight search, enter this, and brew will be installed into your system. And the second command that you have to basically install is the brew install Git. That's it, and Git will be available for you. For example, if I want to check right now, I'm in the learn Git directory. So for example, if I want to check that Git is installed in my machine or not, I'm gonna type Git. That's it, right? If you see this thing, which is list of commands which basically are present, for example here, from here to here, right, this one, it means that yes, Git is installed into your properly machine, right? Similarly, if you are on Windows, you have to go to the Git SCM, right? Go to here, Git SCM, go to the Windows build here, and just download the build. For example, 64-bit setup, right? You can download a portable version also, but I don't recommend portable version. I would recommend if you are using Windows, you can install directly by using this, right? This will install Git bash into your system, which you can use to run your normal Git commands, right? So let me show you how. So when you open this link, for example, right now I'm on Windows, right? I have opened this. You will see that there are multiple clients of Git which are basically available. Right now we have not discussed what exactly is a Git, right? But there are multiple clients that you can use which for your Windows, right? So you can use Git desktop, right? Click here and you can download this. This is super simple setup. You have to just click next. I have downloaded it, so there will be an exe file which will be available for you, right? And just open this. I recommend Git desktop, or if you have Git GUI. So there are multiple versions. If you see, right, Toto is Git extensions, Git, Kraken, right? Multiple ones that you can use. Another way is basically going to the directly link which is download/Windows, and here you will see a link which is 64 setup, right? I won't recommend a portable ones, of course. If you click here, right, there will be some instructions. Click on next. So I'm gonna add the additional icon on the desktop also, because we want to use Git bash, which will be helpful for us. So we can use Git bash directly instead of normal terminal, because terminals in the Windows which are basically called CMD command line, right, they are not very good. So just click next. Again, you don't need most of these things. So at last you need to click this launch Git bash, which basically open a command line bash for you where you can run your Git related commands. So if you open the Git bash directly, you can search it here also, right? Just go to Git. If you type Git, basically it will give you a Git bash, right? Just open it, and here you will see, let me clear that, right? So here, if you basically type Git, now everything remains same. The same steps we will follow in the Mac itself. So I'll move back to Mac now. The similars, this is the process of installation on Windows I have shown you. On Mac, it is pretty much similar because we are using brew. All right, so we have installation is complete, right? Now let's understand what exactly is a Git and why it is super important that you should know. See, basically you need to understand the difference between Git, GitHub, and GitLab. right? These are three different things. First of all, let's talk about only the Git. Git is actually a distributed version control that is used to track your changes in your file. What exactly it means, Pramod? Please explain me with a proper example. Let's understand. So I'm going to use, for example, suppose I'm basically creating a software which contains 3 files. So 3 files which are basically can be code or anything like that I wanted to do. Suppose I'm working here, I have 3 files right now, right? But somebody in future, for example, there is another person who is working with me, right? He said, okay, I want to add something. Can I take a copy of your code, right? He will just add another file, let's say 4.txt, right, into the system. Now, suppose I also basically started and changing the file of 3. Right now he basically open the 3.txt and change something. Right now, if you see, right, this is me and this is that person, right? It is very difficult for us to track the file, right? Who made which kind of changes, right? That's where the Git is super helpful. So how Git is helping here is that it will basically start tracking your file system by taking these snapshots, right? For example, suppose I have this folder where let's call this main branch. If we are talking about, right, it's basically a copy of your all the code that you have, right? For example, here I have some files which I basically want to track. Now, if somebody is taking a copy, or you can say is basically working on the file, right? Now Git can track these files, right? So I know, for example, if the state changes, right? For example, X to Y, if there are changes, but I'm not aware about them, but Git knows everything about this, right? That's where the version control basically is helpful, right? So basically how this Git is able to do the tracking of the files, right, into your project is through something called as snapshot of your project, right? So it will basically work with those snapshot version and manage your source code. So whatever the source code that you have, for example, suppose in our automation also, for example, suppose I have 5 files, right, that I am working on locally, I am working on, right? But somebody also working on the same source code, right? They added 5 more files, right? So how will we be able to track those files, right? Now, because 5 files they have also edited, I have also edited somewhere, right? This is where this Git protocol was invented, which can basically help you to track all the files by taking these snapshots. So it will take a snapshot, and whatever the increment which is new added, right? Anything which is incremented added, they will be basically available as a snapshot. So what is the advantage for this is that you can roll back, you can move forward with these snapshots. This is the super amazing thing of the Git, right? So let's understand why we use Git, because Git is a protocol that it can work on the offline also, which means suppose I'm working on my own source code and there is another person who is working on their code, right? But what we can do is that Git can allow us, we can work offline, but suppose after some time we are online and we basically want to merge our changes, right? So Git is where it will be helpful for us, that it will basically provide you certain commands as well as a mechanism that Git will handle automatically. We don't have to manage, we don't have to do anything. We will just run a couple of commands through the snapshot mechanism. Git will basically track all the files and it will give you a updated copy of that. Okay, so that's where it is helpful. Collaboration is super easy. Multiple developers, multiple testers can work on the same working copy of source code, right? We call this repo, which is repository, right? So in your repository, you can have multiple collaborators who can basically work. Anyone can change any file, but if they want to merge into the main branches, or if they want to basically merge into the working copy, they can use certain commands of Git, which will allow them to do that, right? So branching is easy. What exactly is a branch? Branch, you can say it's a, for example, suppose I'm creating a automation framework, right? I have some code, for example, I have 3 files, right? So somebody added a 4th file also in that case, right? So how they can do it is basically they will take a copy of mine, right? So they will basically cut out a branch. So it's very similar to a tree, right? Tree has a branch, right? Similar to that, they will just cut out a branch, they will add a new file, and after that basically I can take some pull, which basically means that yes, they have added a new code, any increment they have added, right? It will allow us to do in the future also. So that's where it is. Branching is very helpful. Merging is easy, it's fast and flexible. So now I think you guys are fine that okay, why we need Git, right? Git is a super important thing to manage your source code, and as a software tester you should know that whenever you are creating your automation framework, even if it is API, mobile, or it is a web automation for you by using the Selenium, right? This will will be helpful for you because your automation framework that you have created, right, you can run this by using Jenkins, which will allow you to run your source code daily, or you can say multiple times, right? Multiple people in your as a QA, right, they can collaborate, they can work on a single repository or a single working of a code rather than they create a different copy. That's where the Git is super helpful. Now let's understand what is Git versus GitHub versus GitLab. See, Git is a version control system which handles your snapshots or track your files, right? Whereas basically you can say GitHub is company which provides a Git hosting, right? GitHub basically means that whatever the code that you have, right, somebody has to host it, right? So it is the GitHub. Similarly, we will have Bitbucket also, which works in a similar way. The underlying protocol that they use is Git. So Git actually is a protocol, or you can say it's actually a program which basically handle your snapshot and tracking of the file, right? Where GitHub is actually a company that basically uses a Git to basically provide you hosting where you can basically keep your files, right? Similarly, GitLab is similar to GitHub. It also it is open source. It is also using the same thing, but it provides other tools also, right? They have added more collaboration, project management thing, continuous CI/CD things they have basically added. Now I think GitHub also added the same CI/CD things by using actions and other things, right? So GitHub is owned by Microsoft and GitLab is a separate company that now we have. So again, difference is Git is a version control. GitLab is also a hosting platform which is open source. But GitHub is actually owned by Microsoft nowadays, right? See, architecture of Git is very simple. Here, if you see, right, you will understand there are only three things that you have to remember. This is where your working directory will be. Working directory basically means here I will have my three files. Suppose I am working on my three automation files that I have, right? Here it's the working directory. After that, what I can do is I can put them into a staging area. So this is the second area which is also present into my system right now. There is no remote, or you can say they are not present over the internet as of now, right? They are into my staging area. You can consider this as a separate folder or a snapshot folder which is created in .git directory, right, which is there. So whenever you stage some file, we call them stage, or you can call them git add. So whenever you add some file, you can basically add them into a staging area. So whenever you commit them file, right, then it becomes a part of your local repository. So whenever you do a commit, right, commit is very similar to taking a snapshot. So for example, suppose when we started, right, we had three files. So we added three files here. Now we have committed. So commit one will contains the three files, right? After that, I added fourth file. So there will be a commit 2, which is commit 2, which basically contains 4 files now. So anybody who's working in a similar environment, for example, I am also working in the similar environment or a repo or a folder, right? I will see that there are 4 files now present in that case, right? But this is just a local right now. But what about I have to share this code with some other people? I have to share over the internet. I have to share with the other coders, right? Other software testers, which basically automation tester who will be working it, right? So now the concept comes, which is the remote, right? So till here you have seen we have three things where working directory, whenever you add something, which we will see, there is a command to add files into the staging area. So this is where you will add to the staging area. Right now, when you add these files to staging area, right, there is no commit in this case, which means that they are just a temporary file they are available. But when you commit, actually then a snapshot is taken and which is put into the .git directory where you guys are working. I will show you the demo, don't worry on this. So git add will add to the staging area to repository. Here after committing you will get this, right? But if you use a push command, if you have set the remote, right, now this will put all your code, for example 3-4 files that we had, right, it will go to the remote repository which is present over the GitHub. Suppose we are using GitHub, right, then these 4 files will be hosted at a GitHub hosting platform, right? Now some person can also take a copy of it, they can work, and they can also add or increment into the repo, right? That's the major advantage of Git, right? And GitHub is a hosting provider that we are using. I hope now you understood which is why it is there, right? Let's do one thing. Let's create a GitHub profile before that. So I'm gonna use this, right? So go to the github.com, copy your email ID. So I'm creating a new fresh account right now. So continue create a password. We are going to use a very basic password. So I'm creating a profile, so click on continue, enter your username. Let's say this is okay, anything. Okay, why would you like to product updates? Yes, of course I need it, everything. Please solve the puzzle, which is click on start puzzle. Okay, pick the square. That these are the things we have to do, no, sometimes.